We travel for a multitude of reasons. Each journey a personal story waiting to unfold. Some of us seek the quiet solace of a distant shore, a chance to rest and disconnect from the relentless pace of modern life. Others are driven by an insatiable curiosity, a desire to witness ancient wonders, to stand where history was made, and then there are those who travel to learn, to immerse themselves in cultures far from their own, hoping to find a piece of themselves in the process. Americans in particular are among the world's most prolific travelers. They fan out across the globe in vast numbers, their passports stamped with the ink of countless nations. The world is a book, and they are eager to read its pages. Many of these journeys are marked by warmth and genuine connection. Smiles are exchanged, stories are shared over meals, and friendships are forged that span continents and cultures. These are the moments we see in travel brochures, the idealized vision of global community. Yet, there is another side to this story, a narrative that is often whispered rather than declared. In some places, the welcome feels cooler, more reserved. The smiles are polite but do not reach the eyes. Sometimes the atmosphere is not just cool, it can feel palpably cold, a silent resistance that hangs in the air. This essay will explore the complex reasons behind this resistance, seeking to understand, not to judge, and to present the truth in a clear and balanced way. The experience of a traveler is deeply personal, yet it is never entirely separate from the larger forces that shape our world. An individual, they are, in the eyes of many, an emissary of their home country, whether they intend to be or not. They carry with them the weight of their nation's history, the echo of its political decisions, and the image projected by its media. This is a heavy burden, as they navigate the alleyways of Paris or the markets of Tokyo, but it is there, shaping interactions in subtle and sometimes profound ways. This exploration is not about assigning blame. It is about fostering a deeper understanding of the intricate web of perceptions that govern our interactions. It seeks to pull back the curtain on the quiet tensions that can exist between a visitor and a host. Why does a friendly hello from an American sometimes meet with a guarded stare in Havana? What undercurrents flow beneath the surface of a polite transaction in a Tehran bazaar? The answers are not simple. They are woven from threads of politics, culture, economics, and history. To truly comprehend, we must be willing to look at the complete picture, from the grand stage of international diplomacy to the quiet personal encounters on a foreign street. Let us begin with a scene, a diptych of human interaction. Picture a gleaming modern airport, its halls buzzing with the energy of 100 different destinations. A family from Ohio, jet-lagged and exhilarated, navigates the customs line. They offer friendly smiles to the uniformed officer. They are met with a professional but warm greeting. They step out into a new country. Their journey begins on a note of promise. This is the welcome most travelers hope for. Now, shift the scene. Imagine the labyrinthine streets of a city with a more complicated history, the air thick with the scent of spices, crowded market sounds. An American couple in brand-name sportswear, the guidebook clutched in their hands. Locals flow around them like a river around a stone. Some glances are filled with simple curiosity. Other looks are more guarded. A group of men talking on a corner falls silent as the couple passes. A shopkeeper's smile seems to vanish the moment they turn away. This is the contrast at the heart of our inquiry. Not overt hostility, but small, almost imperceptible shifts in atmosphere, being seen as an individual versus being seen as a symbol. In one place, you are a guest. In another, you are an American. A loaded label. These feelings are rarely spoken aloud. They manifest in the gestures. They manifest in the averted eyes. They manifest in the subtle stiffening of posture. The traveler may not name the feeling, but they can sense it. A barrier, invisible but real, has been erected. This visible discomfort is not always personal animosity. More often, a complex cocktail of emotions, resentment, caution, pride, and sometimes even a degree of envy. For locals, arrival can remind them of geopolitical imbalances. It can recall cultural battles being won and lost, or highlight economic dependencies they may resent. One of the most powerful forces shaping how American travelers are received is politics. The decisions made in Washington, D.C. do not remain there. They ripple outwards, creating waves that wash up on the shores of distant countries. When the United States government engages in actions perceived as aggressive, unfair, or domineering, those feelings do not simply attach to the abstract entity of the government. They often transfer onto the people who are seen as its representatives, however unofficial. The tourist becomes a walking embodiment of their nation's foreign policy. This is a heavy mantle for anyone to bear, especially when they are simply trying to find the nearest museum. Consider the impact of military interventions, drone strikes, or economic sanctions. For an American, these might be distant headlines, but for the people living in the affected regions, these actions have tangible, often devastating consequences. This political shadow is not cast equally everywhere. Visual map. Highlight: USA, France. Japan. However, in countries like Cuba, Iran, decades of embargoes, sanctions, and hostile rhetoric have created a deep chasm of mistrust. For a Cuban, an American traveler might represent the very country whose economic policies have caused generations of hardship. For an Iranian, they might be seen through the lens of political standoffs and the constant threat of conflict. In these contexts, a cold shoulder is not just a mood, it is a political statement.
It's about the image.
The image of a country is largely defined by the actions of its leaders, or news clips repeatedly show one nation's military power being exerted over another. The average citizen inherits this image. They may be a teacher, a doctor, or a student. The coldness they experience is a reaction not to them as a person, but to the powerful and often intimidating image their country projects onto the global screen. Beyond the grand stage of geopolitics, resistance to American travelers often grows from the fertile ground of cultural misunderstanding. Culture is the invisible architecture of our lives. It dictates our social norms, our communication styles, our concepts of politeness, and our sense of personal space. It is the water we swim in until we find ourselves in a different ocean. When travelers plunge into a new culture without first learning its currents, they risk causing offense unintentionally. These small, repeated frictions can accumulate over time, building a negative stereotype that affects all who follow. One of the most common areas of misunderstanding is communication style. Americans are often perceived as being direct, loud, overtly expressive. In many cultures, a more subtle, indirect, and quiet form of communication is valued. A booming voice in a serene tempo, an overly familiar question, or an enthusiastic backpat can be perceived not as friendly, but as abrasive, intrusive, disrespectful. Another significant point of friction is the concept of social etiquette and dress. What is acceptable in Miami Beach may be deeply offensive in a more conservative society. Public intoxication, littering, or failing to learn basic greetings contribute to a perception of arrogance. These actions signal the visitor sees the host country as little more than a playground, creating a composite image of the ugly American. This leads to preemptive emotional withdrawal, a quiet plea. Please see our home as more than just your vacation spot. Please respect our way of life. The economic might of the United States is a defining feature of the modern world. Its influence reaches nearly every country. This power can be a double-edged sword for tourism. On one hand, the influx of American tourist dollars can be a vital lifeline, supporting hotels, restaurants, artisans, but the same economic power can foster resentment and imbalance. When a country's economy depends on the whims of foreign visitors, it can feel less like partnership and more like servitude. You can see the imbalance in stark contrasts between tourist and local life. An American traveler might spend more on one dinner than a local worker makes in a week. They stay in luxurious, often walled-off resorts, creating islands of wealth amid modest neighborhoods or poverty. That disparity breeds resentment. The local server may be smiling. The advance of American consumer culture can feel like economic imperialism, fast food chains, coffee shops, global brands. When a Starbucks opens on a historic street, it's more than business. It's a loss of cultural identity. People may resist this encroachment. A cool reception to an American can be a silent protest. We are not just a theme park for your entertainment. In our hyper-connected age, our perceptions of other nations are powerfully shaped by the media we consume. For billions, primary exposure, not from personal interaction, but from Hollywood films, television shows, and international news broadcasts. This mediated reality creates a potent and often distorted image of what it means to be American. While an individual traveler is a complex person, they often arrive preceded by a powerful and simplistic cinematic stereotype. They are judged based on characters and headlines, American films and TV shows, action star, wealthy celebrity, loud, naive tourist. These portrayals are often taken as representative. Assumptions: all Americans are rich, accustomed to violence, fundamentally self-centered, measured against a fictional yardstick.
News media plays an equally crucial, if not more serious, role.
Coverage focuses on polarization, social unrest, gun violence, and foreign military campaigns. A person whose only window could be forgiven for thinking it is a nation in constant turmoil, defined by power and aggression. This creates a lens of fear and suspicion. The American traveler might be viewed not as a curious explorer, but as someone to be wary of.
It's not about the people, it's about the image.
This phrase captures the essence of the media's impact. The global media landscape tends to flatten complex realities into simple, digestible narratives. The diversity of 330 million Americans, their varying beliefs, backgrounds, and values, is compressed into a handful of powerful, easily recognizable images. These images are what travel ahead of the tourist. The quiet librarian from Kansas, the gentle nurse from Oregon, the thoughtful student from Vermont, forced to contend with the loud and often aggressive image projected by their country's media machine. The resistance they encounter is often a reaction to this powerful, pervasive, and frequently misleading image. We cannot understand the present without listening to the echoes of the past. History is not a static collection of dates and events. It is a living force that shapes national identity. It fuels collective memory and informs contemporary attitudes. For many countries, their history includes intervention, colonization, political manipulation by powerful foreign nations, including the United States. These historical grievances pass down through generations, embedded in stories, monuments, and a shared sense of national pride and pain. Consider the perspective of a nation in Latin America. The history includes CIA-backed coups, support for dictators, economic policies benefiting American corporations. For people in this region, not abstract history, part of their family's story, the cool reception, directed at the historical weight their passport carries. Similarly, in Southeast Asia, long shadow, physical and emotional scars run deep. While relations may normalize, memory of bombing, political upheaval remains. A local may harbor complex feelings, reminded of immense suffering and loss. This does not necessarily translate to open hostility, but can create emotional distance. The traveler is a symbol of a nation that was once a source of conflict. This historical lens affects perception in subtle ways. Generosity might feel patronizing. A direct question might feel like interrogation. Presence of a powerful outsider can trigger a defensive posture rooted in subjugation. The traveler, viewed through a collective historical frame, their nationality becomes their primary identity. To bridge this gap requires more than a friendly smile. It demands awareness and humility. Acknowledging the pain of the past, even if one was not personally responsible.
Why some nations resist American influence.
Faced with a complex tapestry of politics, culture, history, media, how can an individual traveler hope to overcome such powerful and pervasive forces? The answer does not lie in grand gestures. Humility, respect, genuine curiosity. Finding common ground begins not with speaking, but with listening. It requires setting aside our own assumptions and making a sincere effort to understand the world from another's perspective. When people feel heard and respected, the walls of resistance begin to crumble, replaced by the foundations of a real connection. The first and most crucial step is education before traveling. Learn recent history, political situation, key social customs. Learn a few essential phrases. Hello, goodbye, please, thank you, excuse me. This small effort signals respect and can transform an interaction. Humility is another essential ingredient. Travelers from a powerful and wealthy nation must be conscious of the privilege they carry. Avoid flaunting wealth. Avoid complaining about the lack of familiar comforts. Instead, embrace the local way of doing things. Eat at local restaurants. Shop at local markets. Show a genuine interest in the crafts and traditions of the people you meet. Be a guest, not a consumer. When a misunderstanding occurs, approach it with humility and a willingness to apologize, diffuse tension, and build goodwill. Ultimately, focus on shared humanity, look for common ground, family, hobbies, food, music. Ask people about their lives and share a little about your own. In these one-on-one conversations, the stereotypes and political labels begin to fade away. The American and the local disappear, and what remains are two people sharing a moment in time. While an individual traveler cannot single-handedly change their country's foreign policy or erase the stereotypes perpetuated by the media, they can create a positive counter-narrative, one interaction at a time. Each act of kindness and respect is a small deposit in a global bank of goodwill. The world is in a constant state of flux, and the nature of travel is evolving with it. In an era of unprecedented global connectivity, we have more opportunities than ever to interact across cultures. This presents both a challenge and a profound opportunity. The old narratives persist, but new voices are emerging, offering fresh perspectives and forging new connections. The future of global travel and how we're received abroad will be determined by the choices we make. Move beyond the flag, see the person first. The journey from tension to understanding is long. It requires a collective shift in consciousness. For travelers, embrace being a global citizen. Awareness, empathy, responsibility. Your actions, however small, shape how your country is perceived. You are an ambassador, whether you want to be or not. Wield that influence with care and intention. Choose curiosity over judgment. Choose humility over arrogance. Choose connection over consumption. Let your journey leave a place better or no worse than you found it. For host communities, be open to seeing beyond stereotypes. Distinguish the individual traveler from government policy or media images. Success stories exist where both sides make the effort. Those moments prove a better way is possible. They are glimmers of a future where travel fosters peace and understanding. This isn't just about American travelers, it's universal. The resistance an American might meet in Tehran relates to the suspicion someone from the Middle East might feel in a Western airport. It all comes from fear of the unknown, fueled by history, politics, and media-driven narratives. The antidote is the same everywhere: genuine, respectful, open-hearted interaction. Make our shared humanity the most salient part of who we are, beyond any flag or passport.
It's not about the people, it's about the image.